right, once again, it's time for Off the Top Sportscast. I'm John, and that guy right there is Roy. Roy, you have our subject of the day.
We're going to talk a little bit of like everyone's talking about is what is the draft going to look like? The question is, we're going to talk about first, number one, the Tennessee Titans. So the question is, what will Tennessee do with number one? What do you think Tennessee will do first? If you were just to say, GM, really quick, off the bat, are they keeping or are they selling number one?
I would say that they're going to keep it. And I think that even though not everything is Will Levis's fault, I think they've seen what they need to out of Will Levis to know that there is the possibility of an upgrade. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to throw Will Levis by the wayside, that they're going to trade him. They don't need to do any of that. I know that's the popular thing. Like, you can't have Will Levis there. What are you talking about? You can do whatever you want. You'll figure out who the best guy is when you get into camp. But I think they're going to keep it. And I think they're going to go quarterback.
So I heard two things. Keep it and quarterback.
Yes.
I think they're going to shop it, but they're going to end up keeping it. I think they're going to shop it and see. I don't think they want to go down too far, but I think they'll be willing to go down at least to number 3 and let the Giants come up. Because I still think that they're met.
I think it just depends on what they think about this draft. My problem with this draft is when I'm looking at it, it's top heavy, right? There are some skilled position players that are going to find homes in this draft that are really going to make a difference. But there's going to be some big misses in this draft. And there's going to be, because of the way that college football has now developed and guys staying home and better players staying in smaller conferences, you don't get the same side-by-side comparisons of talent. And that's going to be a big difference maker in this draft. Who can really pick the diamonds of the rough and develop them? I think almost every person in this draft, except for maybe a few, need real good developmental staffs.
So my thing is, I think everyone is saying quarterback. I'm actually not saying quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying give him something else to use so he could use some of those quarterback skills. So I'm saying if he can go down, okay, I think they keep Levis. Levis, I think, is fine. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. Again, that's just my opinion. I could be all wrong, and everybody who's a Titan fan may go, no. I say they keep Levis, and I don't think they're looking quarterback. I think if they keep number 1, I think they're going to go down to number 3. I think they're talking to the Giants. I wouldn't be surprised if they're talking to the Giants and maybe even New England, okay, to come up.
Okay.
Because I think this draft is beefier late second and third round. I think you still get some value there. So I can see the Titans going, listen, I'll drop down, give me your second. Anybody who's willing to give them a lot of seconds and thirds, I think they'll be willing to do that. I think there'll be a lot of people. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to go off color here in the sense of they could go offensive line, give more protection. That would be that. Yeah. Or this is where Travis Hunter is going to be.
At number 3.
And number 3, or if they get stuck at 1,
you think they go Travis Hunter?
They go Travis Hunter. If they go down to 3, I think they go with the best offensive lineman on the board.
Okay. So who's not at number 2 right now?
Let's not jump down to 3. No,
yeah,
the next is number 2, Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, they have really, you can say they have a quarterback issue. Their second string quarterback was their first string quarterback. He's up for contract. He's free agent. Watson, we don't know what the heck is, that was the biggest miss of anything you've ever seen.
Now he just recently went and got surgery.
Mhm.
which means he might not be back next year.
No.
They
So
restructured his contract. He gave more voidable years. So technically speaking, he has one more year after next year, and then they can be done with him.
what do you say here? What do they pick?
Um, this is an interesting spot because they have, to me, this is the power spot because I do think Tennessee is going to use the first pick. I think the pick that will be traded out will be this one. And I think the pick that should be traded out is this one. And let me tell you why. Deshaun Watson trade to get Deshaun took a lot of picks. It took so many picks that it turned that Houston Texans team into the Houston Texans team that's still in the playoffs right now. It literally flipped the franchise because of all the picks that they let go. So I think they're just gaining their picks back this year. They've got high-priced guys that are aging, and they need guys. They need young guys because of that Deshaun Watson contract. So they're going to have to.
Where do they go? Where do they go?
I think that they traded out.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think,
I'm with you. There's
and
more
I
value
think,
now. And where do they go? Let's make it offense or defense.
well, because they're trading out, I think they're going to go offense, and I think they're going to go offensive line.
Ooh,
And yeah,
I was not that way.
because I think they're going to drop all the way to sixth, which I think is the Raiders.
Whoa, good one. That would be good for the Raiders, but the Raiders are going to have to give up something.
Right, which is what they want. Dropping the 3, what are you going to get for 3? What, 2 to 3? You get it, maybe, you're going to get a 2. All right, we'll give you a 2. We'll flip your 3 for my 3, go up 3 spots, whatever. It's not going to get you a lot. But the Raiders coming all the way up, they have guys, they have actual players that they could trade, right? The Raiders are going to be they got to redo this whole thing. So I would say if I'm them, I trade away Crosby to get picks to utilize to move up to number 2.
Wow. So you give it, okay, wait a minute. You got me. The
So I
Browns
put
down, the Raiders trade away Crosby.
before the draft. Before the draft, you trade away Crosby. You trade him away to whoever, right? Whoever wants him. Let's say
Take him.
who?
Cleveland would probably take him because technically, I think they're going to go defense. I think that's how crazy they are.
Here's the thing. If you go defense, you're going defense because you're going that let's say that young pass rusher on that rookie contract. You bring Crosby in, that doesn't solve your problem. That brings more problems.
That's true. Yeah, but I think they're going defensive, and I think they're going to go for the best edge rusher that there's out and I tell you the truth, I don't think they should do that. I think they need to give Judy, they need to go wide receiver. That's what I think. And the big 6'5" wide receiver that's out there. That's what I really think. But I think they're going to go defense.
Okay. I think that this second pick is going to end up at Raiders because I think the Raiders want Shedeur. They want him in the silver and black because I know that it's kind of gone by the wayside, but I don't think the talks with his father, Deion Sanders, is over yet. And I think Shedeur and Deion could end up in the Raiders. You trade Crosby to get the draft capital to trade up to 6 without leveraging all of your whole future. And
nice.
that's what you do.
So Cleveland drops. I say Cleveland's going defense. You say offensive line. I say defense, but they still could pick that up in 6. So we are now at number 3, which I don't think anybody has a doubt what the New York Giants are going to do, and I don't think they're going to move up. I don't think they're going to move down. I think they're going to stick at 3, and I think they're only going one thing and one thing only. I think they're going quarterback. I think they're going to the Miami. And I think that's what they get, and that's what they're rolling with.
Okay, so you're saying that Ward will be there at that time. That's not a sure problem.
It's not a sure thing, but I really don't think Tennessee is taking a quarterback. I don't think Cleveland Browns taking a
But if
quarterback.
they're not taking a quarterback, then why wouldn't you trade down to 3 so that the Giants know that they're going to get Cam Ward at 1, and you still can get your wide receiver, your offensive line. You can get whatever you want. If you're not going quarterback, you shouldn't stay at 1, because all it does is make whoever you're picking that much more expensive.
I get it. But I think Giants are really good in 3. Again, Cleveland Brown, I think, is getting out of number 2. Like you said, I think they're going to get out of number 2. I think the Titans maybe keep on number 1, but I think they're going to try to move 2. I don't think they have any worry. The only one who could go for the quarterback, which is the Raiders, which you said. But I think they want, I think they want, really why Shedeur is such attractive to them is because not only is, okay, everybody says he's quarterback. I don't know how good he's going to do in the pros. I don't think that good, but he's a name. He's marketable. He excites them. So I think the Giants quarterback. What do you think?
That black and silver Shedeur Sanders jersey will sell like hot cakes, baby.
Yeah,
that thing is going to be as hot as Bronny James's jersey was this offseason. Okay.
Good point.
Okay, so
we're Giants.
I think the Giants probably need to move up. If they don't move up, what I would say is then they got to move back. If you can't get the quarterback, you got to move back.
They're not moving back, man. They're going to try to get a quarterback. They're not moving.
But past the 2 quarterbacks in this draft,
nobody big.
Who?
You never know. I really don't know many quarterbacks that I would look at as a pro quarterback.
We're talking, for me, now I'm going second round, high second round. Yours from that was in front of Eli Manning's kid, Arch Manning. What's that? Texas, right? That guy played a lot of football, didn't have a good bowl game. Okay, but that would be an option. I don't know. To me, this quarterback draft is not the best, and when we've seen teams reach for quarterbacks, think of the Geno Smith, EJ Emanuel draft. How'd that work out? Think of Pittsburgh a couple of years ago with Kenny Pickett. How'd that work out? That was a bad quarterback draft, and they reached for a quarterback, and they're still in the same spot. So to me,
now we can't say this. We haven't even talked. Think about that. They can go. We could stay right here or drop back and pick something totally different. They could pick another big stud wide receiver. They could go offensive line. There is a lot of quarterback. Nobody crazy, but there's, Wilson could be out there. There's a lot. Aaron Rodgers still could be out there. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are out there that they could go, you know what? Let's get somebody with experience.
So if we're playing the game and they can get a quarterback, I think they get a quarterback.
I think they get a quarterback.
Okay. I think that's what they would want. Yeah. No matter how they get it, if they stay where they're at, if they're trading up, I think that's what they want. If they don't get that quarterback and that big old wide receiver is there and they don't take them, then they're crazy. Because Malik Neighbors already showed you who they were. He was.
He shows you he's the real deal.
And he showed you he was the real deal with DeVito throwing to him. What are we talking about?
That's the only quarterback they got signed right now.
Yeah. So if you get another good young wide receiver in there, and then you plug in, like you said, a bridge quarterback, whoever you bringing in is going to be a bridge. Because in the late second round, in early second round, you're going to maybe pick up another quarterback. Maybe you trade into the bottom of the first round on a quarterback you like. However you have to do it, you have to get a young quarterback in the rotation. Maybe a Sam Darnold would be there.
Listen, don't even talk about Sam Darnold, because if Minnesota lets him go with how many touchdowns he's threw this year, and everybody's, oh, Sam Darnold. Listen, that guy has played like a top tier quarterback for you. Don't you sign him? Maybe you don't give him crazy numbers. I think you give him Baker Mayfield numbers, but you sign him at least to 3 years. That's what I would think you would. But you say right now, let's get to it. You say right now, the Giants are going, give it to me. They are going to get a
quarterback.
Got it. Quarterback.
I agree with you, but I believe they have to jump up to do it.
Yeah, if they want one of those, I think they want quarterback. I think they're going to sit. If they sit, I think they're going to change their direction, and they're going to look at free agents. Number 4. Where do we go in number 4? Do they go defense?
That's the Patriots, right?
Yeah. Do they go defense?
Yeah. So I think number 4 is really interesting. Remember a couple of years ago, they needed a quarterback after Tom Brady, and they had a first-round pick. And you know what they did? They didn't do nothing. They sat. They sat right where they were, and they just waited for the draft to come to them. And then they picked up the quarterback. That quarterback did not work out. That's fine, but they didn't make a move up. Now we've got Mike Vrabel.
Totally different.
Totally different animal. What do we know about Mike Vrabel? He did it. He was successful with quarterbacks that were less than stellar. Best quarterback he ever had was Ryan Tannehill. Right? So what does that mean? I think what you're going to see out of Vrabel is go get Travis Hunter. This is where Travis Hunter comes into play, because he is from the Belichick school of thought. So if what you're saying is Travis Hunter is a better corner, which is what I'm hearing a lot of people saying, Travis Hunter is a better corner than he is a wide receiver, but he's a good playmaker. That means if I'm Vrabel, at the very least, I'm thinking, I got Christian Gonzalez that I know is a really good corner and young. And then I put Travis Hunter on the other side of Christian Gonzalez. I'm a defensive-minded coach. And then at the very least, right off the bat, I got Travis Hunter returning punts for me. And then a couple of trick plays once he gets acclimated. That's how I bring him into the offense. Some trick plays, then I'm running him. I think it's exactly the type of guy that New England would just love. A guy that can go both ways, a gritty guy like Travis Hunter. I think that is that's kismet. You know? If not Travis Hunter, then he goes big uglies. He's going to go an offensive tackle or a big defensive tackle, that kid from Georgia, whatever it is. But he'll go into the trenches. But I think Travis Hunter actually, when I think about that team and their needs, he kind of covers a lot,
I like it. I was thinking more offensive line help here. Get one of the big boys. But I like it. I think it would excite New England fans. No problem.
Yeah.
Number 5.
And number 5 is
Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think you go offensive line. I think your first 2 picks are offensive line. Offensive line in the first round, offensive line in the second round.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised though, if they change things around and win defense. keep on going defense. But I think offense. The
I was
thing is
about
this:
to say,
coach is going to be there. That's the problem. That's my problem.
yeah, we don't know which coach is going to be there. That's true. But here's the thing. Think about Jacksonville's last, you know how many number one first round draft picks they have on their defense? It's all their whole line, their linebackers. You need to know if Trevor Lawrence is the guy. You already paid him, right?
Yep.
But you need to start finding out right now. And how you do that is you give him the best pocket to throw from. You
Yeah.
already know. I think you found out that Brian Thomas Jr. is the truth this year. That wide receiver is very good. Next year, you're going to get Christian Kirk back off an injury. That hurt you guys this year. You need to keep Trevor upright. I think ATN is leaving, so you're going to be bringing in another running back. I would bring in a more traditional running back, downhill threat.
What about the kid from Boise at this time?
That would be beautiful, but I think that if he doesn't have a line to run behind, then you're just doing it again. You're saying, I'm going to overwhelm you with this talent to cover up for the holes that I got other places. No, fix the holes and bring lesser talent in and let them rise together. That's what Jacksonville needs to do.
Good. I give you, that's a good one. We talked about the Rangers. Number 7, Jets.
They are in a horrible spot. They are in a horrible spot. They are in a spot of, what do they do? What do you do with your coach? What do you do with the quarterback position? What do you do with the wide receiver position? I know it looks good, but it's expensive. You're going to have to sign Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Those guys came in together, remember? So they're due at the same time. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with Sauce Gardner. There is a lot of questions in this draft for them.
They go defense or offense?
It's hard to answer without knowing what direction they do with a whole bunch of other stuff. If I'm them, truthfully, I'm going offensive line, but I'm also trading the heck out of here because one high offensive lineman doesn't help me as much as a whole bunch of other players. But regardless of that, I'm still saying I'm going to go offensive line, offensive guard, and tackle, whatever they got, whatever's there.
This is the first team I don't know what to tell you. I have no idea what the heck they're going to do.
It's tough.
I am totally confused with the Jets. Coach, who they keep, I have no idea what they need. They need a complete stinking overhaul. I don't know what they're going to do. I maybe the only thing I can think they do is they try to get as many picks as they can and drop out of 7 and see if somebody gives them another second, and a third or fourth and stuff. They get out of, they don't stay in 7. But I have no idea what they're going to do.
No, man, it's tough without knowing what they're going to do. Their work on this team has to start way before the draft. Okay, let's go on the premise that Aaron Rodgers leaves, is done. You're going to cut him. Okay, that would be the smartest thing for them. So let's just say they do it. They don't always do the smartest thing, but let's just say they do it. Okay. So now what do you do with Davante Adams? Do you keep him because you're going to bring in another quarterback that's going to be way cheaper than Aaron so that he can keep helping? Does he fit in with Garrett Wilson in that? It didn't seem to fit. It's not like they're sharing, the rock. It was going either only to Davante, which it did mainly at the end of the year, was just Davante, Or when Garrett Wilson had a favorable matchup, it was just going to Garrett. So what do you do there? Then you've got a guy like Adam Lazard. Is he going to help a young quarterback? I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy who helps every quarterback is Breece Hall. And he doesn't seem to be talked about as an important factor to me.
Why?
Because they didn't use him that much.
He's eligible for a new deal.
Yeah.
They're not going to pump him up. The one guy I think you can't lose is Hall.
Yeah.
But listen, the 5-12 Jets, they're screwed up. But they brought in Aaron Rodgers, and let me tell you this crazy thing they could do. Is sign another free agent quarterback.
Ooh, Russell Wilson?
Nope.
Don't say Sam Darnold because he's not coming back there.
No, he signed for big money. We talked about him a lot. Kirk Cousins. That would be something crazy if they did that. But he's a good quarterback. But we talked a lot about him at the beginning of this year, so about being injured. And everybody's like, oh, why they sign a junior? Well, that's why they signed the quarterback.
Here's the thing. It's not a crazy thought, right? But you can't bring Kirk Cousins in with that offensive line.
Yeah. He'll be out.
He's not moving. So you need to shore up the offensive line. That's number one. Number two, your whole offensive scheme, which is going to change anyway because they've got new coaches coming, but now you've got to get the correct scheme. Because the reason that Kirk Cousins went to Atlanta was because he knew that scheme. This wasn't like he was going to go do something new. He went to do what he was already doing. I can't see them doing that again. That would really make me laugh if they did the old man again. Because if they were going to do Kirk Cousins, why wouldn't they just keep Aaron Rodgers for another year? He's a better Kirk Cousins. So what would you be gaining except for maybe a little bit of dollars? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's get off the Jets. We know that they're a mess. What about number 8, Carolina Panthers?
So Carolina Panthers are an interesting one because we, on this podcast, me in particular, we killed Bryce Young. We had him dead. You had him moving on.
He looked dead.
Yeah. We had him dead. We had his career over. We had him working at a Chipotle. Hey, I'm Bryce Young from Bryce Young's Used Cars. That's how we had him. And he's really revitalized his career after sitting on the bench. It's incredible. Think about this. Their best wide receiver, Devontae Johnson, they got better when he left. That's how much of a cancer Johnson is. They got better when he left. If I'm them, what do we know about Bryce Young? He's small. He's fragile. He needs to be protected. He was throwing to Adam Thielen and a whole bunch of other just guys. Your first pick needs to be offensive line because much like Tua, if you don't plan to protect them, then you're planning against him. So what I would do is I would get the most athletic offensive lineman out there. Not the biggest and strongest, because I need this guy to be able to move. I need this guy to be able to pull, because I'm going to put my quarterback on the move so that he is more successful using his legs and opening up alleys, because he's small. He can't see over these offensive linemen anyway. He's got to get out of the pocket to see better. And my offensive lineman needs to be, let's say my left tackle, I need to be able to pull him to the right side and just blow out, blow the defensive lineman up while Bryce is looking for some wide receivers. So I think this is a no-brainer. If you're keeping Bryce Young, you go offensive line and you give him a shot.
I say no.
What?
I say no. I'm going to say when we talk about defense, that the Carolina Panthers were in much need of some upfront help. So I believe, and I was trying to see who they were talking about for him. I think some people are projecting maybe to get to Penn State. I think there's a couple of studs out there. I say they're going up front defense. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going defense.
I think that Penn State pass rusher will be the first pass rusher off the field. And so if anybody doesn't get the player that they wanted, let's say the Raiders can't make the trade up or whatever whatever scenario can't happen, I think that Penn State pass rusher does not get past 6 or 7.
I agree. He's a stud. I think Georgia got some Georgia players, Marshall, LSU. There's some good players, but the Penn State Carter, he's great. So, but I'm saying defense. I'm telling you, defense. Mark it down, defense.
The good thing about Carolina is you almost can't mess it up.
Yeah, you can't almost mess it up. Yeah. I agree. All right. Let's talk about number 9. It's the New Orleans Saints. They got some injured players. They got some significant space cap tied up in players. So what do you think they do?
They should take a sledgehammer to this roster and not blow it up, but crumble it to pieces. They need to get rid of all of their guys. They are in Sean Payton jail. This is still in Sean Payton's jail. The first thing I would do is call Denver and say, which one of these son of a guns do you want? You want Cam Jordan? Take him. I'll take a 5th round pick for Cam Jordan right now. Take him. You want Alvin Kamara? Take him.
Well, they're saying right now that they could be $65 million over the salary cap next year.
Bro, they should be shredding players today. Those guys need a full overhaul. They need to blow it up. Tyson Hill, take him.
Question. Let's not worry about what they do. What will they take?
It doesn't matter what they take. Anything's going to be good because of how when I'm done with it, I've got 12 guys on the roster. So I've got Chris Olave on the roster. That's it. I've got Shaheed on the roster. You know what? How about this? This is the spot for the running back. That's what I say.
Oh, interesting.
Because you got to get rid of Kamara. He's always hurt. He started off hot. I was impressed. But he became back. They became the Saints again. You got to do something new. You got to get young. You got to turn this roster. I mean, it's been since Drew Brees has been there that this roster's been the same. All these guys just getting fat and rich over this money that you're paying them and giving the Saints nothing in return. Tyson Hill is a great all-around player, but his presence holds them back because they think they have an offense and they don't. You know what I mean? I'm like, he's making too much money as the backup quarterback. I like Derek Carr, but as far as I'm concerned, Derek Carr might be the quarterback for the Jets next year. And you got to redo this roster, man.
Yeah, I
So
don't think
I'd say running back.
Or you say running back. Okay, good, good. Again, I think you're right. I don't know what they're gonna do. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no hopes. I have no idea. Like you said, there's almost anything they can do. Would help. I don't know. But let's talk about last but not least. We're gonna end up here at number 10, the Chicago Bears. And I think really the Chicago Bears are kind of easy, I think. I think they should do one thing and one thing only. And I think that's offensive line. I think that's what they need to do. Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. That's it.
They've got the offense in place as far as skilled players is concerned. I think Keenan Allen is actually going to be a free agent this year. But even with that, they still got two really good wide receivers. They got a good tight end, Cole Kmet. Everything is serviceable on that offense, except for that
100%.
offensive line.
Offensive line. Yeah. You're right. I think
Totally
that's
agree.
where they're going.
How many trades do you foresee in this first round?
Ooh, you know what? I think there may be the most trades you've ever seen in the NFL draft. I think there's going to be a lot of movement.
And why do you think that?
I think it's because there's no real defensively, and I think they're studs. Offensively, yes. I don't think there's really. I'm not talking about the offensive line. I think there's some good offensive linemen, but I don't think there's really big. And really, the wide receiver that I like, 6'5", I think is from Arizona, wide receiver that I would love. I think he's going to fall pretty far. I don't know if anybody. I don't know if anybody's going to pick him up because they're going to want those big defensive studs. Like nobody else I can get defensive, edge rusher, defensive edge rusher. If I need a big offensive, I got him. Pick him up. But I think you're going to see a lot of guys move, and you may see some other teams from pretty far down. 11, San Francisco, 12, Dallas, 13, Miami, 15, the Falcons, 16. These teams that were like good, but not great, maybe go, hey guys, you guys are worse than us, but let us move up and you move back. So I think that's what you may see.
Yeah, I think that you're right. There's not a consensus. Well, this guy is better than this guy. This guy's better than that guy. I think it's going to be all over the board. And because of that, when they start to see guys go off the board, I think people are going to start to reach for the guy that they want, which is going to take draft picks.
I think so. I think so. I think you're right. I think you're going to see some movement. Like the thing is, we know Boise State running back, stud, right?
Yes.
Arizona wide receiver, stud. Maybe see some other ones in there, blah, blah, blah. But those are the two big ones. Defensive end rushers, defensive cornerbacks. There's probably about 5 or 6 defensive guys that really can make some moves that people be moves. So, like I'm saying, you go up, I don't got nobody else. I'm picking the best defensive guy. Offensive guy, there's probably about, offensive line. As you go, I'm picking high, maybe 2 or 3 really high. Then there's a lot of second round stuff that's going to mismatch around. And I think that's where some of the teams are going to want to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think the second round is going to be a good spot to go.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I would like to look this up. In the last 2 years, that 5th-year option that the first rounders have offered people has become less and less intriguing and more of a detriment, because you have to make the selection of the 5th-year option in the 3rd year. You have to say, I'm picking up your 5th-year option, but you don't do it in the 4th year. You don't do it like, the year before. You got to do it in year 3.
Right.
So the pressure that puts on teams because when you pick up your 5th-year option, you're going up in price range,
Right.
and it puts a pressure on teams to get that right. And I've seen a lot of players that you would go, in any other years, their production would have gotten him a 5th-year option. Guys like Najee Harris, right? 1,000 yards every year. That would have gotten you the 5th-year option. It didn't. It didn't get him a 5th-year option. And I think it was smart that they didn't pick up the 5th-year option. Because it used to be you pick up the 5th-year option. If you don't like the guy, you trade him. You know what I mean? And let the other team that maybe wants them to sign him to a deal. That has not happened lately. And
Yeah, that's
it's
kind of why
interesting.
Fields. That's why Fields was such a big situation because of that. That's where
Right.
he felt that 5th-year op. Hey, we got to do something because of that.
Yeah. So I don't think people are as enamored with moving up into the first round, is my point, to get it. And in fact, you think about Buffalo trading back twice in the first round to get out of the first round to the top of the second. That would be unheard of, especially if you're going to go, hey, you want this wide receiver for, a long time. Yes, I do, but I want to be able to evaluate him fairly and sign him to a deal or not. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question. We talked about the draft. This is a little bit off the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Or not off the draft. It is. Do you think that the Dallas Cowboys, from where they're picking, could do something just loco in the coco and put up their quarterback and say we need to do something exciting, blow that up, get a ton of picks, and try to do something different?
Jerry is not going to do that. What he should do, because you've already signed Dak to this big contract, so trading him would be nearly impossible, right? Because you'd have to trade him, and I don't even know what the logistics of that is. But what he should do is trade Micah Parsons. That's what should happen.
He's going to be gone anyway.
I don't know. They're trying to sign him, whatever. Listen, he is a great pass rusher. He's an okay defensive end. That's what he is, right? He's great at getting to the quarterback. All the other responsibilities that pass rushers does, he's not as good as TJ Watt. He's not as good as Myles Garrett. He's not as good as Nick Bosa, Crosby. He's not as good as those guys. So I think that you could really transform the Dallas Cowboys if you get the correct amount of trade for Micah Parsons. That's my feeling on it. And even let's say you get the 20th overall first round pick, and that's all you get. Now you could take whoever's there, or you could parlay that 20th pick into 2 2s and a 3, or whatever, to fall back even further. And I think that this team needs a lot of help. And they're not going to get good anytime soon. The biggest thing that Jerry Jones gets wrong is the moves you make today don't help you this year. Every move you make is for 2 years from now. You're going to see the benefits. Or 2 years from now, you see the damage. So signing CD late and Dak late for more money than he had to because he signed them late, that effect did not have, the effect of that was not this year. The effect of that will be 2 years from now. That's when it's going to be the effect. When you've got to sign other guys, when you've got to bring free agents in, and your salary cap is so huge. If you're not thinking 2 years from now, then you're messing up. You know what I mean?
So the draft is exciting. Listen, we talked a lot about the draft 1 through 10. What can happen? This, I can tell you this, we don't know. We don't know nada.
No.
We don't know anything, but I will tell you this, they will be surprises on this draft like never before. I think there's going to be a lot of mix up in this draft. I think this is the draft to watch. I think it's going to be an exciting draft. Why? I don't think it's the number ones that are going to make an impact except for defense. I think it's the number 2s and the number 3 rounds that you're going to hear and you're going to go, oh, but those are the guys who are going to make impacts for the teams. Those are the guys who I think are really going to be, the wide receivers that they're talking. A lot of wide receivers, but nobody's really making the heyday. A lot of running backs, but you only hear about 1 or 2. I think this is the year that you're going to hear. You're going to get that guy who comes out as a quarterback that was like that becomes that Peyton Manning, that quarterback, or maybe not Peyton Manning. I shouldn't say that because Peyton Manning came out as number 1. He was number 1. But the quarterbacks that come from the depths and all of a sudden are the big deal.
Anthony Richardson, that all of a sudden, I was going to say that during the combine this year, I think there'll be 10 people that you haven't heard of all year, all of a sudden burst into the limelight as, look at this wide receiver and his traits, look at this defensive end and his traits, and look at Scatterboo, the running back, look at whatever wide receiver, quarterbacks that are going to come up, because there's not enough elite talent at the quarterback position on top. But watch when the combine comes up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I do not think Shedeur Sanders is going to do well at the combine. I think it's going to expose him if he does anything.
He's not going to do anything in the combine. I'm going to tell you right now, he's not throwing in the combine. I don't think he's going to do anything in the combine.
I wouldn't if I was him.
Yeah, I think Travis Hunter doesn't need to do anything in the combine. I think Travis Hunter, I don't even think he's going to run. I don't think he's going to do anything. So anyway, everybody, we appreciate you. Put down what you want your team to do. Put down who you think you want. Tell me what you're looking at and what you think is going to happen, because I can tell you this, you probably are going to be wrong, because it's going to be a surprise draft. Watch the combine, watch the draft. I know I'm going to do everything to watch the draft live. I love the draft, my favorite time of year. Again, John, tell them what they should be doing.
Talk to a stranger about sports today.